Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Kelly, and for today's video I'm going to be doing my October reading wrap-up. Now normally I start out these videos with telling you guys my monthly statistics. I actually haven't done my reading journal yet because I ran out of black printer ink, so I need to order that ASAP so I can continue because I've done such a good job of keeping up with it every single month. And obviously, now that we are down to the final 2 months of the year, I'm falling behind. It's just so Kelly-coded. I can't make this up. But anyways, I will have on the screen somewhere my monthly statistics. I know that I read 8 books in the month of October. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. I started out the month with The Wicked King. This is the second book in the Cruel Prince trilogy. I really liked this book. I listened to it on audio, and I'm loving it. I have seen very mixed reviews on this series. It isn't my favorite fantasy series, but I am very into it. Like when I'm reading it, I don't want to put it down. I gave this book 4 stars. Like I said in my last video, because I read the first book in September, if you go into the series thinking that is very heavy on the romance, you are not going to enjoy it because there's like a tiny little itty bitty subplot of romance, but it is mainly fantasy. And yeah, 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I can't say too much because it is the second book, but just know that I ate this book up. 4 stars. I don't know why I haven't read the final book yet. It is on my November TBR, so I will be reading it soon. I actually think it's going to be my next read. So 4 stars. Next, I read the second book in the Zodiac Academy series. This is Ruthless Fae. I gave this book 4 stars. I gave the first book in the series, I think, a 3.75. That book definitely set up the series so perfectly. Again, I can't really say too much because it is the second book, but I will say you are following 2 sisters, Tori and Darcy, and they end up getting a knock on the door from this man, and he's like, hey, you guys are actually lost princesses. I need you to come with me to Solaria and go to Zodiac Academy. And it goes from there, and then you end up meeting these 4 heirs who cannot stand them because they were supposed to be taking over Solaria because they thought that the 2 princesses were dead. So when they return, they're like bullying them. That's how the first book starts out. I will say I am not a fan personally of bully romances myself, but once you get past the first book, I promise you it gets better, and I'm just loving the series so much. So 4 stars. Next, I read Play Along by Liz Tomford. In this book, you are following Isaiah and Kennedy. Isaiah is Kai's from Caught Up's brother, and Kennedy is the athletic trainer on their baseball team. And let me just say, Isaiah is such a cinnamon roll character. He's so funny, and I don't know, he was just making me giggle constantly. I gave this book 4.5 stars. I didn't love this one as much as Caught Up. I'm trying to think of like my ranking of this series so far. We still have one last book to go, but I think the order would go Caught Up. I'm trying to think if Play Along is above The Right Move. I don't think so because Ryan J. I'd have to do a reread on The Right Move because this book is definitely fresh in my mind as well, so I kind of want to put it above it, but I feel like if I do a reread of The Right Move, it's going to be first place or even second place. I don't really know, but right now my ranking is Caught Up, The Right Move, Play Along, and then Mile High, which I loved Mile High. I feel like a lot of people didn't really like that one. It's not my favorite in the series, but I still really enjoyed that one. And this book was so good as well. I was just constantly smiling. I loved Kennedy so much. She was such a sweet character, and I loved their story. Let me just say, there was a part in this book that had me like tearing up. I don't want to say too much because it is definitely a spoiler, but I loved this book so much. And I love this series. This is definitely my favorite sports romance series, I think. Yeah, it definitely is. So good. The spice in these books, chef's kiss. Next, I read the most heartbreaking book ever. Let me just say, this book wrecked me. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I planned on doing a video of me reading books out of my comfort zone, and I really wish that I filmed that and then I got like my core reactions to this book on camera because this book broke my heart, you guys. I'm not even kidding you. Like, I'm gonna put a picture on the screen of me bawling my eyes out from the end of this book. I was absolutely devastated. But you're following Addie, and she ends up making a deal with the devil, basically, where she wants to live forever. So they make that deal, but all deals like that come with a consequence. So the consequence of that is every time that she meets somebody, once they leave that room, they forget who she is. So nobody remembers her until one day she goes to this library, and there's this guy named Henry, and she ends up stealing a book because she says, well, nobody's going to remember me once I walk out of here. And Henry follows her out, and he remembers her, and it goes from there. But the ending of this book absolutely broke my heart. Thinking about it makes me want to sob my eyes out. There is a quote in here, if I can find it. It definitely is a very viral quote. I feel like it's on TikTok and stuff. So once I say it, you will probably have heard it from someone or somewhere. Here we go. And this is what she settled on. She can go without food, she will not wither. She can go without heat, the cold will not kill her. But with a life without art, without wonder, without beautiful things, she would go mad. She has gone mad. What she needs are stories. Stories are a way to preserve oneself, to be remembered, and to forget. Stories come in so many forms, in charcoal and in song, in paintings, poems, films, and books. Books, she has found, are a way to live 1,000 lives, or to find strength in a very long one. I loved Addie, I loved Henry, and thinking about this too much is going to break my heart, so I'm going to put this down. Infinity Stars, definitely my favorite read of the month, hands down. And then I read The Reckoning. This is the third book in the Zodiac Academy series. This book is a thick one. Again, I can't say too much because third book in the series is going to spoil for those of you who haven't read the series yet. But if you haven't read it or you haven't started it yet, I'm begging you to, if you are a fantasy lover, please, please, please read this. Yeah, you will not regret it. Unless you end up hating it, then you didn't hear it from me. I gave this book 4.5 stars. I can definitely see the next books all being 5 stars because I love these characters so much. And I want to tell you guys my favorite couple, but again, that would spoil. Just know, all I'm going to say is the cover. That's all I'm going to say. It's not going to give anything away to those of you who haven't read it, but I'm also reading the first book in the Ruthless Boys because I've seen like so many different reading orders because she has like different series that came before and after, and I've seen people say that after the third book you should read all 5 books in the Ruthless Boys. I'm only like 50 pages into the first one and I'm not really loving that, so I think I'm going to give it up to like the 100-page mark. I don't want it to put me into a slump. So if I'm not loving it by then, I think I'm just going to move on to the 4th book in the Zodiac Academy because I've seen people say that you don't have to, but if you want like better knowledge on the universe, then to read that. So I don't really know yet, but 4.5 stars. I love these characters so much. And then I listened to The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. Nobody does thrillers like Miss Frida. I swear, I loved this book so much. If you've watched the show You, read this book. Please read this book. I'm begging you. But you are following, I forget her name. How could I forget her name? That's embarrassing. That's gonna bother me. See, once I look it up, I'm gonna be like, oh, that was her name. I know the MMC's name. I just can't think of the FMC's. Sydney. There we go. We were following Sydney, and she has just had the worst luck with relationships, and she's on this really terrible date with this guy, and she ends up meeting this other guy named Tom. Now, this book goes from past to present point of view, like different timelines, because you are following in the past Tom and what's going on with him, and then in the present you are following Sydney. And once Sydney meets Tom, there's some weird things that start happening. I don't want to say too much because I really do want you guys to go into this book blind, but just know, as I was reading this book, I had one prediction of what was going on. And I said to myself, this has got to be it. Like, I convinced myself I was right. And I was like, if this is what is happening, I'm going to be just mind blown. And it wasn't the plot twist at the end, but what happened at the end had me jaw to the ground. I was like, oh, she went there. Like, so crazy. I love Frida McFadden's thrillers so much because they always just leave me like staring at the wall once I finish them. I gave this book a 3.75, but thinking about it, I might round it up to a 4 stars because I really, really enjoyed it. I just want to go binge every single Frida McFadden thriller book that I haven't read yet because I just love her writing, and yeah, such a good book. Please go read it if you are looking for a thriller to read. And then I read Nocticadia by Carrie Lake. I'm still so confused on my thoughts about this. I really did enjoy it. I just feel like it was way too long in my opinion, but you are following Lilia, and her mother ends up dying from this mysterious disease 4 years ago. So she ends up going to Nocticadia, is that what the place is called? Oh, Dracadia University. And she wants to find out what happened to her mother, and her professor, Devrick, is leading the research on like finding out from like the disease that she died from, like digging further into it. And it is a professor-student trope, is that what you would call it? Yeah, professor-student. Like I said, I don't know how I feel about this book. It is very good for spooky season. Like, there's a mystery in this book that had me hooked, but I just feel like this book just was very dragged out. I feel like this book could have been like 200 pages shorter, and I would have really enjoyed it that way. I don't know if I'm going to give this book a 3 or a 4 star. I don't think it's a 4 star, so maybe in like the 3 and 3.5 range. I'm still very conflicted. I really liked the FMC and the MMC a lot, but I feel like it was very, 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 very slow burn. So if you like Mariana Zapata and you also are like a dark romance or like mystery girl, you will probably love this book so much. I feel like it was just a little bit too dragged out in my opinion. So I'm still confused on my rating on this. And then I ended up listening to Two Can Play by Ali Hazelwood. I will read anything that Ali Hazelwood comes out with and eat it up. And this is a novella. I really wish that this was a full book because I would have given this a 5 star. I really think that I would have. I don't read novellas, I feel like, anymore because they're very short, and I feel like that's not enough time for me to figure out like a star rating on it. So normally I won't rate them. But if this book was a normal size novel, I would have given it 5 stars because I just love Ali Hazelwood's writing and the banter between the characters and her spice. So, so, so good. And this book was about gamers. Like, I would have eaten a full novel of these two characters up. I really, really enjoyed it. But I don't want to give it a rating. If I was to give it a rating, it'd probably be like a 3 star because it was very short. I listened to it on audio and I really enjoyed listening to it that way. I don't think there's a physical copy of the book. Like, I think the only way that you can read this is on Spotify or Audible, I believe. I think those are the only two, platforms that you can read the book on because there's no like physical copy of it. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure. But yeah, those are all the books that I read in October. I didn't read as much as I normally do, but with work and these books were pretty thick. Like Nocticadia was like almost 700 pages, and then the Zodiac Academy books were pretty thick as well. But I always say quality over quantity. So I had a really good reading month. I love the fall months of reading. It's just so cozy, like getting on the couch with a blanket and just binge reading a book. It's just, there's nothing like it. But I really hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you did, if you give it a huge thumbs up, leave me a comment down below letting me know your favorite read of October. I love you all so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys!